This is BBC Tees. It's Bob Fischer here, 95 FM, DAB, and online, bbc.co.uk/tees. Let's turn our attention to retro computer gaming, which seems to have got lots of you out there rather excited. In fact, a couple in here as well. Are you a bit of a retro gamer, Rick, from Moonwrecked? Yeah. I haven't got a microphone set up anymore, have you?
Yeah.
What was it? I'm going to have a guess here. Amiga 600? No.
Well, I'm mainly NES.
Are you really? You're a NES kind of guy?
Yeah, it got my collection got that out of control. I had to set up a business selling it, really.
Oh, you actually sell retro computer games?
Warp Zone.
Well, you and...
Plug.
All right, shameless. Composer David Lowe lives in Scarborough, and in the 80s and 90s he wrote some of the music for, well, some of the biggest selling computer games of the era. So if you did own an Amiga or an Atari ST or even a humble ZX Spectrum, then it's likely that you heard some of David's music. He worked on games like Rasputin, Elite 2, Street Fighter 2, and as such pretty much soundtracked my teenage years. He's now launched a Kickstarter project to re-record some of his most famous computer themes with, brace yourself, the London Chamber Orchestra, and he's going to release it if it comes together alongside some of his original tunes. I had a little chat with David during the week, but to put us in the mood, let's have a little listen to some of his work. So this is 88 Atari ST game, Starglider 2. 16-bit wondrousness in all of its glory. So that's a theme to Starglider 2, written by David Lowe in 1988. And I started my chat with David by asking if he'd been an enthusiastic gamer himself.
I didn't really play games, and I still don't a lot. But what happened was I was a professional musician, and every night I'd come in from gigs and I'd be tapping my feet and banging the table, and my wife, Victoria, said, "This is driving me mad, you need to get a hobby." And I remember at the time, I think it was the ZX81 came out, and I saw the adverts for it, and so I bought that, and I thought, oh, well, I'll learn programming, and so I taught myself.
Right.
You know, moved on to the Spectrum, wrote a few games, one called Buggy Blast, because I think you were a bit of a Spectrum addict yourself, weren't you?
I was virtually surgically attached to a Spectrum throughout the 1980s, yes. My dad used to call it my life support machine.
Oh, really?
So that I would just wither and die if it was turned off, and it pretty much got to that state, yeah.
Right, well, I did, we did a thing called Buggy Blast with my brother-in-law, Paul Hibbard. We did that, and that did quite well. And then he went on and did Rasputin.
Okay.
Yeah, and he asked me to do the music to that, because at that point I'd had enough of computer programming. I went back to gigging, and he did Rasputin. Then he asked me to do the music for it, because obviously I could program. In those days you had to be able to...
I had Rasputin, that would have been 1986, I think, and I got it on... The initial copy that I had was a free demo on the front of your Spectrum magazine.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And then went out and bought it.
Then?
No, I did. I went out and bought it after I played the demo and enjoyed it. So there you go. It worked. The marketing worked.
Yeah. After that, because of doing Paul stuff on Rasputin, I then began to get calls from Rainbird and Firebird to do more music for them. The first one being Starglider, I think Starglider 1, and I worked with Jez San on that too, and that was on the Atari ST actually.
Right.
And we managed to put, it's a bit technical, but we managed to convert 8-bit samples down to 4-bit, and doing that you could poke the volume sampling chip.
Yeah.
And so when you did that, it moved the cone backwards and forwards at the right speed to produce the music. And so I did a 15-second sample in the studio, and we managed to put that on the ST, and I think it was about the first bit of sample stuff ever went on the ST.
I was going to ask how you actually went about composing this stuff? Because, certainly talking about things like the Spectrum was very limited sound-wise.
Yeah.
Did you compose on, guitars, proper keyboards, and then try to somehow squeeze it into the Spectrum's tiny sound chip?
That's exactly it, actually, Bob, yeah. I mean, it was a total compromise. I'd write it on a piano or a guitar, and, in my head it would be a big orchestra or rock band, and then I'd end up with it going beep, beep, beep.
Sometimes when you're working creatively, a little bit of something that limits you can be quite good for creativity. It can take you in directions that you wouldn't expect to go otherwise.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, obviously for this stuff, I mean, for the intro loading stuff, I mean, it could be 15 seconds long, or I think we did. I remember doing, Starglider 2. That I think that was 30 seconds long. So it's quite hard to get a theme into 15 seconds or 30 seconds that's kind of memorable as such, So that was a challenge as well.
Was it quite an exciting industry to be working in at the time? Because it was a multi-million-pound industry, certainly in the 80s, and it was kind of underground. Those games were written by often people in their bedrooms, and they were sold in little shops in back streets. It was the DIY ethic made good.
It was that. To me, that was what made it great, really. It was the fact that people were I mean, when we did, Starglider 1 and 2 were written by Jez in his bedroom or his parents' house, Yeah. And I'd go round there and take the music round, and we'd sort of crap it in the machine. There was no big corporations involved, They were just really clever programmers, really.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, I think later on, when the big corporations realised how much money there was in it, they started to wreck it basically by chucking so much money at it and not really caring. I don't know, the kind of, the rock and roll went out of it, really.
Yeah, no, I think that happens with every creative venture eventually, doesn't it?
It does,
the money takes over.
Yeah.
But no, it was, for me as a punter, it was a tremendously exciting time to be a kid and playing this stuff. So tell us about the plan to re-record these themes with an orchestra. Did this come from you, or your daughter Holly, who is no stranger to this programme, seems to have been behind this somewhat as well?
Yeah, it was all Holly's idea, really. I was happy to sit in the sun, really. and she said, "Dad, we should redo this stuff, But we did get a lot of people would find my email address, and they would write and ask if I would remake.
Did you? Do you still get fan mail from retro gamers?
Oh yeah. But at the same time, I never really realised how big that retro gaming scene is.
Yeah, it's massive.
It's huge. Yeah, I really didn't realise how big it was, and Holly did. And she said, "Dad, we should do this, you should do it." And I said, "Well, yeah, but we got no money." And she said, "Well, we'll do it on Kickstarter." But the beauty of Kickstarter, of course, is that you don't do it until you know there's enough people who want it.
Of course, yeah.
So if you get the people who want it, it's worth doing, So she talked me into it, and we went in the studio loft where I've kept everything ever, because I'm one of those people who never chucks anything away.
Oh, that's
even
handy.
The boxes from my Amigas and Estes up there. There's a Spectrum 2 up there in a box I saw the other day.
Oh, be still my beating heart.
Yeah.
It's probably worth a fortune.
Probably is, yeah. And of course, all the old discs are up there, and they're, with all the source code for all the music and stuff. They were all in boxes up there, just chucked in the corners. So we kind of dug them out, and we plugged in. There was 2 Atari STs up. Plugged them in. Both of them blew up, actually. There was a couple of Amigas. One of them worked, and the other one kind of half worked. But the one that worked, it had a hard disk attached with it, and a lot of my source code was on that.
Right.
So I managed to sort of plug that anyway, and it booted up fine. And we thought, brilliant, we got all the source code, all the stuff's on here, and probably 2 or 3 weeks later, it just stopped working.
Oh no!
We've never got it working since.
Are you kidding?
No.
Somebody must be able to get that lot off there for you.
Well, everybody who has backed it, so many of the guys came and said, "Look, we can get it. We've got it. We'll send you it. We'll get the original pieces for you."
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, no, we were so supportive. It was amazing. So here we are, really.
So that's the plan now, is to re-record some of it with the London Chamber Orchestra.
Yeah, but what we're doing is the Elite themes. There's the two original Elite themes I did, the classical pieces. We're going to provided we get the money, we're going to go to Abbey Road and record those with either a 32-piece orchestra, or if we get enough money, it'd be a 50-piece.
Sensational.
Yeah, that should be amazing. And then the other stuff, we got the studio here, so we're going to re-record a lot of the other stuff, you know, the Starglider stuff, Carrier Command, all that stuff I did, Street Fighter 2. We're going to redo that here in the studio using live musicians, real drummers, brass players, and then include a free bonus disc with all the collected old original bits and pieces from all the machines that we can ever get our hands on, basically.
So you had to take, like, you know, your old, what would these be, kind of old 4-track recordings, and kind of transpose them into, you know, basically, are you scoring these for the orchestra yourself?
No, I can do scoring, but not for a 50-piece. And you know, this is the London Chamber Orchestra. These are the top guys in the country. You know? I wouldn't want to get it wrong.
No, come on, they can just busk along. 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's 3 chords, get it right. No, it is, obviously we're going to employ a professional orchestrator and work with him to get it the way we want it. You know, I don't want it too flowery, I don't want it too Hollywoody, you know, but want it really big and powerful, basically.
Fantastic. Well, look, best of luck with it, Dave.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.
Where can people find the details? You're after people to chuck money into this, basically,
for
the Kickstarter. Where is it?
You need to go on Kickstarter.com and then do a search in there. There's a search thing at the top, and search for Uncle Art.
Oh, of course, because you were Uncle Art.
Yeah, that's the company name that I did a lot of the stuff under, and that's what Holly's put it up under. And all the details are on there.
So look for Uncle Art on Kickstarter.
On Kickstarter, yeah.
Fantastic stuff.
Yeah.
Should we play one of your original tracks here, David?
Yeah, sure.
What do you fancy? Go on, you can introduce it yourself, whichever one you like.
Well, one of the ones that I took when I sent it up to you today, and I is the one called ISS. It's for the Incredible Shrinking Sphere. And I've taken it straight off the Amiga. It's one of the ones I had on a floppy disk and not on the hard disk that crashed. I really like this piece, and what happened was that I'd written it, and in my head, I'd already written it before they came to me for a piece of music. And for me, it was like a James Bond car chase, exciting piece of music like that. And then they said, okay, can you do us some music for this? It's a pinball game. It was an incredibly clever one, because the pinballs would shrink and get, so sometimes they'd drop down holes and something.
Yeah. It
was a clever piece of game, and I tried to write a piece of music for it, and in the end I didn't come up with one, so I sent them this piece. And they used that, and it's kind of, I really like it, and I think if we ever get the Elite theme away, I'm going to do the same with this piece, and then try and get it in the next James Bond film. So.
Why can't a pinball game have a huge epic James Bond theme?
Well, it can, can't it? Well, this one has. So.
David, lovely to speak to you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
David Lowe here on BBC TEES with me, Bob Fischer. So that is David Lowe's theme from the incredible Shrinking Sphere from 1989. I think there was a ZX Spectrum version of that, I vaguely remember, but I suspect that's from a 16-bit computer. Anyway, yes, if you'd like to chuck a couple of quid into the Uncle Art scheme on Kickstarter, well, just look for Uncle Art on Kickstarter. That was fairly straightforward, wasn't it? And there's 9 days to go. So good luck to David with that. This is BBC Tees, Bob Fischer here on 95 FM, DAB, online, bbc.co.uk/tees.